It looks like a very clickbaity title, doesn't it? But it's actually not. I'm downplaying things. I've probably shot more than 1.5 million photos. I've just realized that I've been doing this photography lark for 40 years. I graduated in 1986, went to art college and studied photography and graphic communication, and I don't know where the time's gone. I've been fortunate to have worked in quite a few photography genres in multiple countries for brands and tourism organizations, publications, and over the years I've accumulated quite a bit of experience and a bit of knowledge. So the idea with this video is just to have a bit of a chat and share some of that experience and offer a few words of wisdom, maybe. I've written down a few bullet points here for topics that I want to cover, and I was thinking of scripting something and putting it on a auto cue and reading it. I can't do that. That's just not me. It's not natural. So I'm just going to ramble and see where it goes. I've been watching a lot of YouTube recently, a lot of photographers on YouTube, and I realized there is a lot of poor information going around, bad advice. There's a lot of people just set up channels to try and sell you stuff. So the first thing I would say is, if you want to learn photography, learn from somebody who's got a website. Any good photographer is going to have a website, and they're going to have a body of work that you can go and look at. And if they haven't, if they're just selling courses and color presets and just trying to sell you stuff, then that should be a huge red flag. That's my first bit of advice. All of this bad information going around is really the reason why I thought I'd make a video like this, just to try and share some completely unbiased advice. Because if you've watched this channel before, you know I'm not shilling. I'm not just trying to sell stuff all the time, or at all, in fact. I don't think I've tried to sell anything. I should. I realized during my 40 years as a photographer, for the first 20, I shot 35mm and 120 film. And for the next 20 years, I shot digitally. So pretty even split. And over the past year or so, I've introduced film photography back into my mix again, just for fun. There's no reason to do film photography in 2026 other than it's nostalgic, it's fun, and using old film cameras is just quite a nice thing, really. They've got a nice feel to them, they're simple, they're just lovely tools to hold and use, I think, over plastic digital cameras. There's no reason in terms of quality of image to shoot film over digital. I know a lot of people say there is. I don't believe there is, because if you're skilled in the editing suite, you can create a film look. Now, I know a lot of people don't want to spend any time on a computer. That's why they shoot film. Whatever. The whole debate is pointless. So just shoot whatever you're happy with, whatever makes you feel good, really. At the end of the day, a digital camera or a film camera, they're just tools. A camera and a lens is just a conduit to transfer your ideas, what you see, to paper or a digital screen. That's it. So these tools, digital or analog, aren't as important as people make them out to be. Which brings me very nicely onto my first topic, gear. Does gear matter? This has been discussed so many times. It gets a bit boring, but I do have a quick opinion to share. I'm not going to drag this out. I don't think gear matters unless you have a camera that you really, really love. You just love to hold it. You love to use it. You love the way it feels, the way it operates. If you've got a camera that you love, you're likely to want to pick it up and use it more. And the more you use it, the better your photography is going to become. Now, of course, if you shoot fast action sports or wildlife, you're shooting quick moving things, the latest and greatest camera with AI driven eye tracking, focusing and all that stuff, and 30 frames a second burst rate, yeah, they're going to help. But for general photography, for the type of photography that I do, documentary photography, street, travel, portraiture, pretty much everything other than sport and wildlife, really, any camera will do. I really do believe that, as long as you like to pick it up and hold it and use it. I've got a camera here that I bought in 2008. It's a Nikon D700. It's 12 megapixels. I have shot and had published on front covers of magazines, in spreads, in brochures, more photos I've taken on this than on my latest Nikon Z9, which I'm filming on right now, or my Z6 or Z6 III. And this is 18 years old. It's still relevant. There's nothing wrong with this. The only reason why I don't use it so much now is because it's quite big and heavy, and I do so much walking, hiking, that I like small cameras and lenses these days. But this used to go everywhere around the world with me. It's an amazing camera. There's nothing that a modern camera can do that this can't. There really isn't. Just to touch on film photography very quickly, I have this Nikon. I've shown this before. I bought this when I went to college, saved up for this. It's a very solid brass EL2, and it's just an incredible camera. I bought this last year, this Leica M3, possibly the best 35mm film camera ever made. It's like owning a vintage Rolex watch. It's all brass, all the components have been hand assembled. It's a thing of joy and beauty. It's wonderful. Now, with this Summicron lens, you could pay $3,000. This little EL2 with a 50mm lens, you can pay $300. That's 10 times more, but is the picture quality 10 times greater? No, you can't tell the difference. At the end of the day, they're just boxes that hold a roll of film and let light onto the emulsion of the film. That's it. Both of these lenses are equally good, and yeah, I can't tell the difference. It's all really comes down to what I want to hold. Do I want to hold a slightly heavier camera that just feels so good, or do I want to just be more sensible and have something a little bit lighter, not a lot lighter, because this is quite a heavy camera. It's down to how the camera feels, what it's like to hold, and the enjoyment of using it. Nothing else. Let's move away from film. The only reason why I bought the Leica M3 is because the lenses for that system are a lot smaller than Nikon lenses, the equivalent Nikon lenses. So just small and inconspicuous, perfect for street and travel. The bottom line with gear is it's all great. Whether it's coming out next week, it came out 5 years ago, 10 years ago, just pick something and move on. I've noticed on YouTube there are a lot of videos with guys talking about how to nail your exposure, how to get the sharpest possible images, and all these technically driven videos, and there's too much emphasis on the technical side of things. When I see so many videos talking about exposures and sharpness and megapixels and all of this stuff, the way I'm seeing it is that people new to photography watching this are going to get the impression, well, that's all the videos that I'm finding on YouTube is about, so that's obviously really important. And there's this sort of narrative that it's driven by the camera companies and all the influencers that are getting paid by them, that it's all about technical quality and sharpness, and I have a problem with that. Understanding how to achieve these things are not what makes a good photographer. That's just the ticket to get you in the door to the party. That's just the start of your photographic journey. I would say to somebody starting out, don't be watching too many of those videos. Here's the secret right now. I'll save you some time. You want to get good exposure? Don't worry about all the different exposure matrix modes and compensation button and all that nonsense. Just use your histogram. A technically perfect photo is not necessarily a good photo. It's just well exposed and it's in focus. Whoopee-doo. We've got to stop dragging this stuff out. We've got to stop pursuing technical perfection because there's more important things to focus on that are going to make us a better photographer. Sorry to keep going on about it, but if you are spending all of your time obsessing over sharpness and resolution and you're searching for that stuff, you're going to get fed even more nonsense like AI software that de-noises and adds sharpness and God knows what else, all stuff that you don't need. You're just going to go down this rabbit hole. Instead, get off your computer, take your camera out and just shoot more. That's the only way you're going to learn how to get sharp, well-exposed images. There's no hacks, there's no shortcuts for that. This is getting a bit ranty. Let's get back on track. So what is important then? Well, instead of spending all of our time learning how to take photographs, we should be spending our time learning why we're taking photographs. When I was at college learning photography, it was a 2-year course, and in the first few days we talked about shutter speeds and depth of field, and that was it. We didn't discuss it really in any great detail. We just moved on. We started talking about the why. At the end of the first week, we were given our first assignment. So we were told to head out and photograph an image that would be used for a front cover of a book. We were given a brief. We were told why the image is important, what it needs to accomplish, what it needs to communicate, and that was it. Off you go. So I think it was a couple of weeks later, we'd had to select our best image after spending loads of times out and about on the streets doing what we were doing, trying to be creative. And we had to choose one image and present it. So we were sitting in this classroom and everybody had their image on the board, their selected image for this book cover. And one by one, we would talk about it. We would talk about why we took the photo, what we were trying to do and achieve, and how we thought it fitted the brief. Only then did the professor, when we were talking about the image and dissecting it, talk about things like depth of field and shutter speed and lighting and technical things, as well as some creative things like composition. The education we were getting was being why-led. And the how was just playing a supporting role, which is the correct way to learn, I believe. I thought that was fantastic. And today it's the way I learned Photoshop many years ago, is rather than trying to learn all of the functions, all of the tools, you just have an image and you figure out what you want to do to that image to achieve a certain result. And then you just figure out the things that you need to learn to achieve that result. You just do things step by step, driven by the why, not try and just learn all of this stuff. So at no time did we ever talk about exposure triangles or anything like that. In fact, exposure triangles is a new thing. We didn't have exposure triangles because the ISO was set. That was it. We just had shutter speed and aperture and off you go. Pretty simple stuff. The idea was that you can figure out your depth of field or your shutter speed. That's just a little technical thing. The most important thing that the professor was communicating, was teaching us, was what the image was trying to do, why that image. And he was making suggestions like, well, that's a really great image. I love the way you've composed that. What if you had a little bit less depth of field? Or what if you've just changed that angle so there was a clearer sort of space, less mess in the background, and that depth of field might help blow that out? Or what if you change the position of the camera so that the lighting would create a little bit more contrast and sculpt that image a little bit more. This is a small detail, but I think that approach changes everything and makes learning the creative side of photography easier. In fact, I believe when it comes to learning photography today, if you're just starting out this week, the easiest way to learn photography is actually to buy an old film camera like this, because you've just got your shutter speed, your aperture, focus, the ISO set. So just playing with a roll or two of film. I know film is expensive, but this is the best education. It's just running a few rolls of film through a film camera and figuring out how the different things working in conjunction with each other work. That's what we did at school, and we picked it up pretty quickly. Simple. Modern cameras, there's too many buttons and dials and things that are going on behind the scenes that if you don't understand what's happening, how are you going to really learn and take control yourself? You need to get away from the camera making creative decisions for you. And learning the basics, the principles of photography is the only way to do that. So where have we got to? Yeah, great photography is not about achieving technically perfect images. So what is important? Well, it's creating photos that create an emotional response, that connect with your audience, your viewers, on an emotional level. That's important. Capturing photos that tell a story, capturing a moment that invites the viewer to question what's going on, something that's going to invite somebody to use their imagination, to think. That's important. Capturing photos with strong and unique compositions, with great light and depth that draw you in. That's important. How you see is important, not what you see, how you see. What you want to say, what you want to express with what you've seen. That's important. Yeah, how you choose to say something, that's important. Having a curiosity, that's essential. All of these things need to come together to make people feel something, make them think, create an emotional reaction or connection. I believe what makes a very good photographer and separates them from the mediocre pack is someone who sees the world differently and is true to themselves and their beliefs in how they communicate what they see. I think a good way to learn this and understand this is to get away from the computer, go and buy a book that's been curated from images from one of the masters, or go to a gallery, museum, and see an exhibit. You've just got to spend time looking at great images. And what I started to do, or right back to my college days actually, we were taught to look at an image and figure out why we like it and reverse engineer it. Where was the light source? How was it lit? What's the depth of field? What's the shutter speed? You can look at an image and figure all of that out. It's not that hard. Just keep doing it and you can look at anything. In fact, it becomes a curse. I open any magazine or see any billboard somewhere and see a photo. I immediately start reverse engineering and, oh, that was lit with 3 lights, and it gets a bit, it can get a bit out of control. Have I covered everything on that point? So a great photographer is, I think, someone who doesn't spend time on social media looking what other people are doing. They're not just simply copying to conform, to fit in. And that's a hard thing to do, because as humans, we're wired to want to belong, to be part of a tribe. It's so safe to look at what other people are doing, to want to fit in, to want to be accepted. And on social media, to not draw criticism. A lot of people are pretty fearful of that. We tend to spend too much time looking at what other people are doing, what gear they're using, what the latest trend is in cameras or color presets or the way an image is edited or whatever. We've got to get away from that. It's nice to be part of a group, of a tribe, whether it's a camera brand group or whatever it is. It's safe, but this only breeds mediocrity. Mediocrity is the enemy of great photography. That's a great quote. I just made that up. I'm going to use that again. We really do need to be fearless and not care what others do and what others think of us and what we're doing. We need to experiment, try new things, break the rules. We need to do what we want to do in the way that we want to do it, and sod everybody else. We don't need anybody's approval for our photography. Nobody. What I've learned in life, particularly with photography, is whatever we do, there are going to be some people that like it, and then there are going to be others that don't like it. And the people that don't like it, there's many reasons for that. It could be jealousy. It could be, well, they just don't like it. It's not their thing. Whatever. The important thing to realize is we can't please everybody. And in fact, we shouldn't be trying to please anybody other than ourselves. We should be true to ourselves and we should do photography for us in the way that we want to do it. That's it. That's the bottom line to all of this. If we're going out there and we're having fun, we're using whatever gear we want to use, and we're fulfilling our creative desires, and we're enjoying the process, that's it. Nothing else matters. These are my thoughts based on my experience. Feel free to disagree, because we're all different. We've all got different ideas. But the main thing is, if you do disagree, just be kind. Don't go putting other people down. I don't care if you put me down. I don't care. My skin's become so tough over the years, but a lot of people are really hurt by cruel things that people say on social media, and it puts them off. And I've known people to give up photography, or certainly give up their social media or their YouTube channel that they were enjoying doing so much, because just cruel, mean people have said something nasty. It's just enjoy your photography and be kind. Thanks for watching.